24 hours ago, I set out on a mission to recreate my first ever cinematic. I wanted more shots, better lighting, a deeper story, explosions, guns, airplanes, No, but seriously, let's actually get to work. Step 1. Planning. The new cinematic will be composed of 8 shots. For shot 1, we're going to recreate what we had in the original cinematic, and the remaining 7 shots we'll use to build up the story.
And what is that story, you ask?
Some guy rowing a boat and delivering a briefcase, but it's gonna look epic.
Warning, the following drawings you're about to see may cause you severe distress. Please refrain from clicking away or disliking the video.
With the story set, it was time to start visualizing these shots using my excellent drawing skills. It always helps to have this kind of a storyboard so that you know the kind of shot you're working towards when building out your scenes. You also do not need to be as good at drawing as I am. With my 8 masterpieces complete and 30 minutes gone from the clock, it was time to jump into Blender. I'll typically create a basic block out of the scene to get an idea for spacing and composition. Usually I'll just set up the camera first and then work from that to place some simple shapes around. For the buildings, I had these 2 references I wanted to use. Why? They just looked kinda cool to me. So the buildings themselves were composed of fairly simple shapes, but because there was so much detail, which is what I wanted, this actually took a lot longer than it should have. All the window frames, electrical boxes, wires, signs, air cons, staircases, it was starting to build up. And that was all just one building. Not to mention the texturing, which took equally as long. All in all, the making of just these 2 buildings took 3 hours. And so, it was time for a change of strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Kitbashing. So I have this big asset library of stuff which I can pull from, and kitbashing is just the art of combining these different assets to make unique models. It's also a good way to speed up the process. And with 21 hours left and not having made a dent on shot 1, speeding up the process is exactly what I needed to do. With kitbashing now introduced, it was time to really get the ball rolling with shot 1. The first thing I did was scatter the buildings I had made around the scene to fill up the majority of the space on the left and right side. I also split up a part of one of the buildings, kinda making a modular asset out of it, and then scattering that around too. In combination with kitbashing to fill up some of the blanks, shot 1 was starting to quickly be built out. I've tested out a bunch of different workflows, and what works most naturally for me on a project like this is to test out some lighting as I'm still building out the scene to get a better overall idea of what I want to be working towards. As I have not invested a lot of skill points into animation, I will be using our beloved Mixamo. If you don't know about Mixamo, then get to know. It's basically just a big library of preset animations you can apply to either their characters or your own. But having great animations doesn't mean much if your scene looks like it was built in 5 minutes. So I've been going through the Skillshare class called Becoming a 3D Illustrator by Mastering Blender. It takes you from knowing nothing about Blender to building proper scenes, all in about 7 hours. It covers everything: modeling, lighting, rendering, texturing, all the good stuff. Honestly, I wish I had something like this when I started instead of watching 20 different tutorials that all contradict each other. The lessons are straight to the point, everything's explained clearly, and there's actual structure. They even give you projects to follow along with, so you're not just sitting there passively watching. The class is on Skillshare, where you'll find thousands of others across design, illustration, photography, and more, all taught by creatives who actually know what they're doing. If you're trying to level up and stop winging it, this is a good place to start. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive 20% off their first year of Skillshare. Get started today. Cool, right? Also ripples, you see that? Basically add a plane and subdivide it a bunch of times. The more the better. In the Physics tab, click Dynamic Paint, keep it as Canvas, click Add Canvas, and set the surface type to Waves. Now select your main object, add Dynamic Paint again, set it to Brush, and click Add Brush. Magic! Oh, and yeah, this whole attaching the paddle to the armature situation almost made me quit the challenge. I eventually figured it out, even though it wasn't perfect. You need to make an armature for the paddle itself, parent it with automatic weights, and then attach it to the rig. Fun! Once I figured that out, the shot was almost complete, and here's a time-lapse of me just making some final tweaks before rendering out the shot. And here's shot 1 complete. With shot 1 now complete and 17 hours remaining on the clock, we were more on track, but we still have 7 more shots to go. However, the good thing now is we figured out the style and theme based on shot 1, so the rest of the shots should get easier from here.
Are you sure about that?
Should. While shot 2 did pose some unique challenges like getting the right lighting, it did ultimately prove to be a bit easier as this shot was essentially just switching up the camera angle. And if we look back at the masterpiece drawing for shot 2, we knew the kind of angle we were going for already. And here is what shot 2 is looking like.
Nice.
Now, it was time for probably my favorite shot of the whole sequence, shot 3. This was going to be a first shot from inside the canoe to really give that sense of immersion. After setting up the camera and checking out the rendered view, it immediately looked good because the scene was already built out from our previous shots. However, using our best friend, Kitbashing, I filled out some of the blank spots to keep the scene looking busy. The original idea was to keep the camera still, but to make it more immersive, I decided on having the camera look around the scene as our character is paddling, to make it appear as if the character is looking around. I know, genius, right? And as the shot was already looking good, it was just a matter of tweaking the lighting a bit and then hitting that render button. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is shot 3. Shot 4 was pretty much a filler shot to establish more of the story, and it was pretty much just Kitbashing plus lighting plus this guy sitting on a chair looking around. So here's shot 4. Now, shot 5. Shot 5 almost caused me to have a stroke, and it's simply because I decided to try and combine not 2 but 3 different Mixamo animations. And it's not like it was anything extreme either. When the boat pulls up to the dock, the guy in the chair is going to stand up, salute, and then go into an idle animation. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, it wasn't. There's this weird sliding issue that happens when blending between the different animations, and to fix it, you need to annotate the location of the armature before it starts sliding, go into post mode, select the hip bone, press tab on the selected animation in the nonlinear editor, isolate the Z location in the graph. Anyway, apart from that, I just needed to animate the boat slowly pulling into the dock. It still looked a bit awkward when transitioning between the 2 different animations, but with the clock ticking, who gives a f? I present to you shot 5. 8 hours left on the clock and I still need to make 3 more shots, color grade, edit the video, and do sound engineering. Time was ticking. Thankfully, shots 6 and 7 were simple. Shot 6 being our character walking straight with a briefcase, and shot 7 being him making a left turn with a briefcase. Nevertheless, I still had to build out the scene, get the right lighting, and kitbash a few elements to get the right look. Here's what shot 6 ended up looking like, and here's what shot 7 ended up looking like. We now have 5 hours left, 1 shot to complete, color grading, and editing. By taking a look at the masterpiece drawing for shot 8, we know that we want our character turning up at some grand door with a briefcase. There's 2 guards protecting the door, the guards salute, and the door opens. First thing I need was the door, and as I didn't have anything I could really use in my asset library, I had to create it manually. I found this reference which kind of fit the theme I was going for, and with that, I got to work. All I really did was inset and extrude a bunch of faces, create some loop cuts here and there, add various shapes. It was all pretty much just to add some complexity to the door. The scene was going to be relatively dark anyway, so you wouldn't see all the details. And in the end, it really didn't look too bad, I thought. One of those things you create and save to your asset library. Next thing was to actually build out the scene for the final shot, and you guessed it, kitbashing plus lighting. I tried keeping it simple because time was starting to run out, and after some thorough tweaking, it was time to hit render, and here's what shot 8 is looking like.
Hello, motherfucker.
With all of our shots rendered and 3 hours left on the clock, it was time to start color grading. I know DaVinci Resolve is amazing for color grading, and I'm certainly no expert in it, so I just threw it in there and started playing with the different values till I got a look that I liked for the different scenes. I'll spare you the boring parts. Once the color grading was done, it was time to start adding some effects, as well as do the sound, which was quite the headache. No one ever told me how hard sound engineering can sometimes be, and so this part actually took much longer than it should have. Eventually though, with 30 minutes left to spare after almost 24 long hours filled with stress, headaches, and back pain, we did it. That's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the recreation of my first ever cinematic. Now, don't get me wrong, I know it's a bit lackluster, the story's a bit meh, the animations aren't amazing, but for 24 hours, it could have been worse. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this one and want to see me recreating something again in the future. Enjoy!